Hello, America. Have you ever looked at your tax bill and thought, I could really use an extra $9.3 billion right now? Well, guess what? The White House is right there with you. They've decided they want that money back, and they're coming for it like a toddler who just dropped their ice cream cone. Except instead of melting ice cream, we're talking about slashing funding for things like PBS, NPR, and foreign aid. That's right, folks. The White House is asking Congress to hit the undo button on billions of dollars in spending that was already approved. They're calling it a rescissions request. It's like a financial do-over, but instead of admitting they bought that questionable Chia Pet online, they're coming after programs that millions of Americans rely on. Think of it like this. Remember that time you lent your friend $20 and they promised to pay you back? Well, imagine your friend is now the government. That $20 is actually $9.3 billion, and instead of paying you back, they're using it to buy a solid gold statue of Elon Musk. So who's on the chopping block? First up, say goodbye to Big Bird and hello to even bigger budget cuts for public broadcasting. That means less money for PBS and NPR, which provide educational programming, news, and entertainment to millions. Next in line, the State Department and USAID, which handle America's relationships with other countries and provide humanitarian assistance around the world. Basically, anything that involves learning, diplomacy, or helping people in need. Yeah, the White House is trying to put it through a shredder. Now, you might be thinking, surely, there's gotta be a good reason for all this, right? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into the wonderful world of political posturing and budget battles. Here's the deal. Some Republicans have been itching to defund public broadcasting and foreign aid for years. They see it as a bloated, inefficient waste of taxpayer money. To them, it's like finding a $20 bill in your pocket and then immediately setting it on fire because you don't like the picture of Andrew Jackson on it. They argue that these programs are biased against conservative viewpoints. And by biased, they mean that sometimes these programs actually dare to report on things that make conservatives uncomfortable. For example, they point to NPR's coverage of Donald Trump, which they claim was overly critical. Because, questioning a man who thought windmills caused cancer is clearly a sign of liberal bias. And don't even get them started on PBS's children's programming, which has the audacity to feature characters from diverse backgrounds. Apparently, teaching kids about tolerance and inclusion is now a bridge too far for some folks. As for foreign aid, well, some Republicans view it as throwing money down a black hole. They argue that much of it gets wasted on corrupt governments or ineffective programs. And in fairness, sometimes it does. But here's the thing they conveniently forget to mention. A lot of that foreign aid money actually ends up back in America's pockets. It's used to buy American-made goods and services, which supports American jobs and businesses. It's like going to a restaurant, complaining about the price of the food, and then refusing to tip the waiter who also happens to be your landlord. Hold on a minute, because not all Republicans are on board with this plan. Some, particularly those from farm states, are downright worried about cuts to foreign aid. They understand that helping other countries isn't just about being nice, it's also good for business. For example, USAID programs help American farmers by purchasing their crops for food aid programs. So cutting foreign aid could end up hurting the very people who vote for these Republicans. It's like shooting yourself in the foot and then blaming the bullet manufacturer for making your foot so darn shootable. And then there's the whole issue of America's standing in the world. Slashing foreign aid sends a pretty clear message to the rest of the planet. America doesn't care about you, which, let's be honest, might not be entirely inaccurate, but it's probably not the best look for a country that claims to be a global leader. It's like showing up to a potluck with a bag of chips and then wondering why everyone's giving you the side eye. So, what happens next? Well, the fate of PBS, NPR, and foreign aid now rests in the hands of Congress. The White House can request these cuts, but ultimately it's up to Congress to approve them. And that's where things get interesting. Remember how I mentioned that not all Republicans are on board with this plan? Well, that means the White House will need to convince some Democrats to vote for these cuts as well. And let's just say that convincing Democrats to defund programs they actually support is about as likely as getting a cat to take a bath. It's going to be a tough sell. Of course, the White House isn't just relying on persuasion. They've also been applying pressure, using tactics like funding freezes and legal challenges to try and force these cuts through. It's like trying to win a staring contest by poking the other person in the eye. Sure, it might work, but it's not exactly a fair fight. So, what's the bottom line? Will Big Bird fly away, or will Congress clip its wings? Honestly, it's too close to call, but one thing's for sure. This fight is far from over. And the outcome will have real consequences for millions of Americans who rely on these programs, so stay tuned, folks. This is one reality show you won't want to miss.